All right, this is what's happening with Joel. We're out here. This is my friends Nicolas and Danton. How you guys doing?
Great.
Great. Yeah.
Wicked. Thanks for having me out at your farm today. Beautiful fall afternoon.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I want to jump into this. So you guys play some amazing classical music that not many people your age, especially, even think about or even really can touch on. So how did you guys get into this?
Well, you said classical. I mean, from an early age, that was it. You know, I started 3 years of age, him at 2, with the Suzuki books, Suzuki system. And then later on, we were introduced to this fiddle tradition. It's in our family tree, family roots, and it was through my sister who connected with elders, started learning these things and learning a little bit more about herself.
Yeah.
Nick's a fiddler himself.
So yeah, like you guys said you're like to start at 2. Obviously, your parents play, and your brothers and sisters all play, and is that the way that works? So it's always in the house.
I'm the youngest of 4 siblings.
Okay.
My sister's the oldest. She's almost 10 years older than I. So, I took in all the music through osmosis.
Yeah.
I was given a cello at 3 years old. Was I playing it? A little bit, but I think it's more important at that age to start listening to the music, start feeling it, and that's really important. I think really important for like growth of musicians and or just people in general. It's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my journey starting out as a classical violinist, and then transitioning over to mainly playing fiddle music, like, it really, for me, the greatest transformation personally is how I revered so much the page and the ink that was written there that I forgot that there's everything else that you're listening to at the same time. And really, you're not, the music is not what's written in the notes on the page. The music is something that is constantly living and growing and being its own thing. And as we were talking about earlier, like, it wasn't an instantaneous thing for me to be able to just start playing fiddle music and just sound like a fiddler. Like, I sounded like a guy who was a classical player playing the notes.
Structure, yeah.
Well, it's not even just structure. It was just like, I didn't, there was no feel.
Yeah, no jam, no, exactly, because I know exactly what you mean, because, like, I started in a band and I really didn't know how to read music or any of that stuff, and I played drums, and it was all, if you can get 4 guys in a room and you guys can all jam together, or 4 people in a room, or 5 or 2 at least, like that feeling between the 2 of you is right. That's something to learn, and that's something that doesn't come.
Yeah. Well, I didn't jam.
Yeah.
I was like, I played in orchestra. I had to sit in a chair. But you know what? I think the thing that really transitioned me out of classical music was the idea and the concept that I had to sit in a chair for hours on end and comply.
Yeah.
That was a serious problem with me. I realized it was like, wait a second, I can do whatever I like and dance and not really care about some guy waving a stick at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, this is what's happening. I'm down here in Trenton at the WildCard Brewery. I'm here with my good friend Zach. How you doing?
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you keeping up with all this COVID? You guys busy?
It's a pretty crazy time. We launched in the LCBO a couple months ago, and it's gone over pretty well. But yeah, otherwise we've had to make some changes, go really can heavy with bars and restaurants not being open. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Well, congratulations on the LCBO, man. You got Notorious Juicy in there right now, right?
Yes.
I think that's everybody's favorite. I know it's mine.
It's been the flagship for a while now, so it's yeah, it's definitely a cool one to get in.
That's awesome. So cool. So I want, like, I'm big on promoting everybody, and I want everybody to shop local. Like these guys, you guys make all your own beer right here in this. Like you got all your vats in the back, you do it all, and they're all your own recipes, and we're really proud of what you're doing. And like, I don't know if you guys made it out to my one show, but they made me a Sterling Jaybird brew.
Awesome.
We got to choose our own flavors and what we wanted and potency, and that sold out pretty fast,
Yeah,
eh?
I was gone by 9:30, I think. Yeah.
The show started at 7:30, so that was a win on our behalf. Thank you for that, man.
That was really
Well,
cool.
you got some awesome beers here, and let's walk through a few of them here. So up top, we got the Limey Bastard, right?
Yeah, so it's a lime rattler, part lime juice, part blonde ale. So that's the last little bit. It's a summer seasonal. We got just a little bit of it left.
Okay.
We got a single hopped New England IPA right here. Really mild, easy drinking, low bitterness, nice clean citrus flavor.
What's that one called? Sorry.
That's Fidelity Galaxy.
Fidelity Galaxy.
Yep. So rudimentary. This is it's been a project in 2020. Well, we've had some kind of time to work out sourcing for our beers. We've been able to get this 100% Ontario now. So that's a really cool thing. We got malted barley from Barn Owl Malt, which is just up Sterling Way. And so it is Bay of Quinte malt, Prince Edward County, Hastings County malt. And yeah, we got the yeast from Escarpment Labs in Guelph. We got the hops from Prince Edward County, Pleasant Valley hops. And yeah, Trenton water.
That's so cool.
So yeah, that's the long lagered ale.
Complete local beer.
Yep.
Awesome. And then down here, like we said, we got the Juicy, Notorious Juicy.
The flagship, yep.
Yeah.
New England IPA.
Notorious.
Tropical fruit, citrus, some stone fruit in there, lots of good flavor. Again, not too bitter, not overwhelming.
That's awesome. This one right here was really interesting. I bought some beer from you a little while ago, and you sent me home with one of these. This one's the Yellow Sour Ranger.
Yes, it's awesome. So initially, this was my brother's gift to his now wife for their wedding. It was the wedding beer initially, is what it was called. So it's now part of the series. We do fruited sours a couple times a year, and toasted coconut and pineapple. And it went so well at the wedding, kind of like the Jaybirds brew gone in a couple hours. He's like, well, we should make a batch of this and sell it out of the brewery. And yeah, it's like a tart carbonated pina colada. Really awesome. That's
what I noticed. Every time I drank it, it was like pineapple while I was drinking, and then I'd sit down and I'd breathe, and then the coconut came out. It was really interesting. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I couldn't stop drinking it. So it was very cool.
That's awesome.
So Cardinal Truth.
Yeah. So the last one, it's a great fall beer actually right now. So it's a red lagered ale. It's kind of not terribly dissimilar to like a Rickards or one of those copper ales, like a Rickards Red. It's a bit more kind of chocolate caramel flavors. Nice body, good head retention. It's yeah, great fall beer. Gets a little bit chillier out.
That's awesome. So you see, you can buy them as a can. You come here, make your own 6-pack. You can switch them up if you want. They also have big jugs you can buy.
The growlers.
Growlers, that's right. And if you want whatever's on tap, you can get growlers. Send them home. For some reason, you know me, I'm in a jug band. I like to have a jug, so that's kind of a niche thing that I like to do myself. So you guys are open?
Yeah, we're open right now Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And hopefully, as you know, we get a vaccine and kind of get the COVID thing under control, we'll go back to normal. 4 or 5 days a week like normal.
And what's the address down there again, Zach?
We are 38 Gotha Street in Trenton, Ontario.
Right on. So it's kind of like in the back, almost industrial. It is hard to find, but anything worth it isn't easy. So come back here and find these guys. Come buy some local beer. When you're in the LCBO, I suggest instead of grabbing yourself a shitty old Coors Light, why don't you try yourself a Juicy, because you will not be disappointed. I put my word on that one. I really appreciate you having me in here, and I appreciate everything you've been doing. I really do. Thank you. And that's what's happening, guys.
You paused abruptly.
Isn't that what a pause button does? It's not like, press the pause button, it just like slowly pauses.
Well, we'll take a moment to acknowledge that that's a quadrille set, and there's 3 tunes in it.
Yeah, we stopped out at the first one.
Yeah.
So there's 2 more to go.
We took Brett pause, and now here we go.
Do you want to do a beat change? We could do like 1.5 tempo. We could go 3/4 tempo.
Definitely.
How about a 7/8 tempo?
If you can mathematically compute that, then sure. What you're doing. Did you decrease it by 1/8? That made it real funny.
So your heritage and your history is Métis, and you went and traveled to the elders. Were you involved in the traveling with the elders and learning that stuff, or did he bring it back and kind of brought it into the house? Or
Well, there's the older siblings had their own journey. I've always just been the kid that traveled along and received a lot of I was close with everyone. You know, I was a child.
But for you, Danton, wasn't it when we started doing some work with Arcane Circle and Mike Stevens, that was kind of for you, that era and your ability?
Yeah, the next stage for me was I got out of high school and didn't go to university right away. Nick and I participated in a program called Aboriginal Artists in Schools, and so by the time I was before I was 20, I'd done 250 hours officially in schools. And the first project we took on was we went to Nishnawtiga First Nation, just Ottawapskat Lake, inland from Janes Bay, kilometers. And, it was a real wake-up call to see, the situation out there. And I really feel for youth who need support, they need art, they need their culture back, they need to be given back their hands to work with, and so I feel really empowered about that, and that's where my heart is really at.
Yeah, Nishnawtiga was a real experience for myself. It's also known as Lansdowne House, and I remember we were trying to get there, and it was November, in these tiny little planes, and we just kept on getting these cancellations. We just couldn't actually get to the location because there was either what we were on was called Wasera Airlines, And Wasaya is kind of like known as the milk run of the
Bringing
of the
groceries
plains.
in,
So
right?
no, well, it's because they have a long circuit, right? So if there was between 2 points that was like there was a storm there, they couldn't take off and fly. And so we didn't get there until like the Tuesday evening of a 5-day project. So we only had 3 days there. And I get there and they're like, well, can you teach the students how to play guitar? I'm like, so I'm like, no, okay, come here, figure this out. So that's this note over here. It's like, so I like learned 2 chords, and then what we figured out is that if you can get students from rhythm, you can get them to participate in feeling the context of the rhythm. It doesn't matter if they're doing it together; they will feel it together, and that was a really transformative project for us. I mean, of experimentation, a lack of time, and complete. Like not like it was a
Which kind of led us to just, you know, basically gathering in circle, kind of like what we are now, and listening to one another and communicating in rhythm, and you know, just working through these anxieties and you know, issues that people have through art, through music, through doing it together.
yeah.
So
I know, I love a drum circle. Like, I just love how you can talk to somebody across the drum circle. When you have like 50 people, you can literally talk to people with the drum. Like, it's really cool how you can, the rhythm and the music and everything can bring everybody together. And like you said, it can let out so much anxiety and so much anger, and it can help so much too, right?
right,
Yeah.
And in these times, we really need that healing, getting together, playing well in whatever capacity that is. At least, you know, we feel each other through this rhythm that is, you know, us being here on this planet, which has got its own cycles, right? We just got to tune in and incorporate that within our music, and that's really what I've had the opportunity to do. I'm so grateful for that. For this space.
All right, so there's a little artist break here for what's happening with my brother Jay. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Good. So that's Jay MOLLOY, and he's part of my band, the Sterling Jaybirds, and big part of my rhythm section because we have the same blood flowing through our veins, and we really got the same rhythm and stuff. And talking about rhythm, what we're here to talk about right now is bones, rhythm bones. So what can you tell us about these bones, Jay?
So these are really heavily used in like Celtic music, Métis music, like fiddling music, dance type of stuff. They came to North America the same way the banjo did. So kind of came over during the slave trade. The banjo came that way, so did the bones, and were popularized in the U.S. through like minstrel music, a lot of the blackface stuff, but became kind of a staple of Appalachian music along with banjos. So originally, actual rib bones. So these are from a cow. We've seen them used with, like Grandma's set, she actually had moose shin bones. Taylor Frost, she's from Bro, he's playing camel.
Camel bones.
Camel bones, yeah. I've tried a bit of everything. The only ones that didn't really work out were deer. I tried deer rib bones, and they were just too thin, too brittle, but yeah, the actual bones seem to have a great sound.
So what he's doing, he's taking 2 sticks. It's kind of like playing spoons, but you're playing it in your hand instead of off your knee. So what he's doing is taking 2 sticks and putting it in his hand and getting that out of it. But it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah,
so
like
do you want to give a little bit of an explanation of like how to hold the bones quickly there?
Certainly. Yes, the technique is in between the first 2 fingers. You hold it down along your like lifeline there, or along the ridge of your thumb, and hold it in tight.
And that's your lifeline right there.
Yeah.
So you're going to take that in there and hold that tight.
Yep, so this never moves whatsoever. The other one goes in between the other fingers and moves sympathetically. You hold it just tight enough that it doesn't fall out of your hand, and so yeah, the idea is, I almost think of like holding onto a newspaper and swatting at a fly with it, and you get a snap out of it. Yeah, and then other direction as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, 6 months of messing around with it, and this one will fly out many times until you get the proper, just tight enough to let it flow, but then it doesn't fly out.
So you see in like a lot of the old school music that we try to redo in the Sterling Jaybirds, that's a lot of it is that like it's like the Carolina Chocolate Drops, like Don Fleming's is really known for the double-handed bones. Like you can put a couple sets in your hands and you really get some rhythm going. That's cool. So Jay's seen these with all this stuff, and he started making them himself. So like this right here is just some normal little scrap wood we found around, and he's shaping them with sanders and cutters and.
Yeah, using a bandsaw to kind of shape them out. We'll draw on there, and then smooth them out with the sander, and nice finish on them. So we've started recently. Well, these ones are actually ones I purchased, but started kind of doing like gluing some different woods together, getting some different ideas. This is actually an old set of plastic ones.
And every wood and every bone would have a different sound, correct?
That's right.
Like a different density.
Yeah.
So, and like these, like you said, these you purchased these ones, but you purchased them so you can learn how to make a new style, new.
Mm-hmm.
So these were all glued together with looks like 3 different types of wood, but every one has a
Very
different
distinct sound, yeah.
There you again.
Yeah, these ones are straight cherry wood.
That's really cool.
Very, very different sounds.
Cool. So as you see, Jay's I got the little 37. That's his number that's been haunting him his whole life. I made a brand for him. So I didn't brand him. I tried to. But you usually have a few of these in your bag whenever we're around shows and stuff. So if anybody's interested, and if they walked up and started asking about bones, I'm pretty sure.
Otherwise, yeah. Use that to give away.
Jay loves to show somebody a new talent, and he loves it too because it annoys a lot of people when you're trying to learn how to do it, and nothing better than that, right?
Yep.
So next time you see Jay, ask him about the bones. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Cool. That's what's happened, guys. Obviously, you guys have been into this music for how long? Like, when did you get started into this?
Well, I started playing fiddle when I was like, how old? Like 2 or 3. And I basically spent most of my time learning classical music and doing that kind of stuff. And then in my later teens, I kind of started to pick up more fiddle music and discover my Métis heritage through the music. I never kind of grew up with the traditions myself, so it was more of a discovery kind of deal. So I've just used the opportunity to guide my journey with the tunes.
It's amazing. It's so cool. I love the upbeat and like I can't wait to get into it with the two of you. But like you're saying, every song has a story, right? Like it has this. That you're pretty much with the Métis fiddling. You're pretty much telling stories through your music, correct?
Yeah. Well, the Métis fiddle music is a oral tradition, like a lot of folk music. And what's kind of interesting about my journey learning the Métis fiddle music was that I actually really had to go out and meet the elder fiddlers in order to be able to really pick up the tunes. But in contrast to that, the tune that we just played, the set with Andy DeJarlis, that's something that's actually been written down. And so there's kind of been a bit of a pathway of writing a lot of these tunes down and codifying them and saying, okay, this is how it's supposed to be done. But it actually is evolving out of a solo fiddling tradition, which means that you kind of did whatever you really wanted to or what inspired you, which also created some of the interesting rhythm and beat patterns that are in the Métis fiddle tunes. So that's why there's always these interesting changes and different beat patterns that happen.
That's cool. I want to put a pin in that. You said something about going out to the elders and learn the music. I never actually got the story, but my brother told me that you... Can you tell me about how you went out and learned all this music?
When I was 16, I got an Ontario Arts Council grant, and I just kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna go get my first grant. It was a kid kind of thing, and I went out to go meet Teddy Boy Hoole, who unfortunately passed away this year, back a few months ago, and he was a bank of knowledge of these tunes, and in order to be able to learn the tunes from him, I just went out and went to his community in Ebb and Flow, Manitoba, which is kind of north of Winnipeg, and just to be able to learn the experience of the tune in its environment and why the music was performed or played in these kitchen parties, which was more like almost fascinating for me as a fiddler because I was coming there from a classical music perspective. It's like, well, what do we do for learning how to learning this music? Well, first you learn your music, and then you perform it on stage. It's a very sterile process. But when you go out to the community, when I first went out to Ebb and Flow, I was completely baffled. It was not just like me learning these tunes. It was a personal culture shock for myself, being a city boy going out to this reserve. And that's a big part of the learning process of this music.
And so that's awesome. What you're saying, from going from the classical to a fiddling style, right? Like, what's the difference in classical to fiddle to you?
For me,
or violin to a fiddle?
Well, I think it more had to do with the learning process, because when I first started learning how to play fiddle music, I took a sheet music and just learned the tune and learn the notes. And then you realize that you're really missing a huge significant part of the stylistic element of the music, and that was not an apparent process for me. Like I couldn't play in like a fiddle style. It took me a while. I was so straight, but also I wasn't locked into the rhythm.
So would you say fiddle's more of like a feel?
There is a lot more feel to the music, but it's also it comes back a lot down to like bow technique and a lot of different things that I had to kind of really rethink and relearn. But for example, like I like to even do basic shuffle bowing, like that was like I couldn't do that. Doing if you're talking about 6/8, you're only doing triplet rather than right. You're just to feel the rhythm on the other side of the beat. That was not something that I got right away, and I had to kind of learn that. And then once I really kind of started rolling on that, I really kind of evolved my own style, I think, too.
Yeah, that's just it, right? That's so cool. That's so cool. Can you give us like a little so you right there that last one you did there what'd you call that?
It's like you're looking. It's like a triplet rhythm. It's like
triplet,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
3, 1, 2, 3, or like 1, 2, 3, 6, right? I could play a tune that kind of has a little bit of that feel to it. This is a tune called Cow Tune, and when I learned this tune from Teddy Boy, I said, okay, so what's the story behind the tune? Well, the fiddler was playing a tune for his cows in the field, and he kind of surprised the cow, and the cow jumped in the well, and well, that's it for that cow. So this is a cow tune.
That is so cool.
Hey, that's what I want to hear. I want you to stand up and guys get dancing.
I wanted to get up there dancing.
You got the camera shot though.
That's good. No, that's so awesome, man. So like you're like obviously you enjoyed like the fiddling style more than the classical style, or just the feel you're feeling in the day, or the emotion you're feeling, right?
For me, it's about connecting back to my roots, and I recently did a project. Well, recently, I mean, I started the project like 8 years ago, and it took me like a bunch of time and resources in order to be able to raise enough money for this project. But I commissioned a classical composer to reinterpret, and also with consultation with with Teddy Boy Hool, created this piece that was based on the trade song, this tune with a story, of course. And of course, the story is a little bit different every time you tell it. So it's a tune, but we took elements for that. I worked with her, and we worked with the piece to be able to, it was performed with the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra, and it's like turned out to be quadruple fiddle concerto. That was a bit of fun.
So
But,
is that out there now, or is it complete?
No, yeah, it's done. Well, we did it. We did the piece. You know, like, but there's not like we don't have an official recording. We have like kind of a records recording. You can't have a public release with the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra,
Right.
within the way that they or most orchestras that unless you have substantial amount of capital in order to be able to pay for the recording process, because it's just a live off the recording floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely explored some of my like classical technique along with fiddle tunes, and then like you know, because you know, you're kind of rushing to get to like the pieces to the orchestra, because they only really have a couple rehearsals, and then I bring the tunes and they see the rhythms, and I was like, sorry, that's not the way I'm going, because I was like, if I'll play like the thing is like I used a bunch of very kind of complicated fiddle bowings that were really natural to me, but when you saw their face when they looked at their bowling sheets, they were like, "Oh my goodness, like this is insane! Like, what are you getting me to do?" It's the day before the show. So they did a really excellent job of that, and they showed a generous amount of patience with my requests. But in the end, it turned out pretty well. So
It was cool. Can I hear a little tidbit of it?
well, I could play you the trade song.
That'd be cool.
I could join you on the guitar there.
Yeah. Well, here.
This one's called the Trade Song. It's a tune about exchange and really honoring the oral tradition of this music and how it evolves in space and time. Often when I'm talking about the oral tradition of like the fiddle in regards to fiddle music in classrooms, is that when you're talking about these tunes, you're not talking about, okay, well, this guy, I've got a fiddle, and this guy over here's got a fiddle, and I'm just going to teach him right away, and you can hear it and play it. What often happens is that there's a huge amount of distance between communities, and trying to share the music is a little bit more challenging. And it's kind of like a game of broken telephone, except you're like 100 miles away from each other. So this is the trade song. It's a song about trade. And there's more story to it. But. All right, how do you want to start this one?
Maybe just go right into it.
That's amazing. So Nicolas, you're involved in the teaching aspect of this kind of Métis stuff in the school?
Well, I don't. I have done some projects where I'm specifically teaching Métis fiddle music, but when I'm working in the schools primarily, I'm doing like a 45-minute workshop with students who are just getting used to even hearing fiddle music. And the easiest way for me to get them involved and to feel that they can participate with music is that I get them to dance. So I teach them how to dance. I do kind of some evolved versions of Métis traditional dances. The one I prefer, or my favorite one to teach, is called the Red River Jig. And the reason why I love teaching the Red River Jig in the schools and the dance is that within the tradition is that each person has an opportunity to express their own personal identity. And I use that as a way for students to be able to have their own dance. And on the spot, they come up with their own dance. And one thing to know about the Red River Jig, it's not a standardized tune. I like to say that for every fiddle player of the Métis, of the Red River Jig, in a true Métis style, is that there's more Red River Jigs than there are fiddlers. Because you kind of come up with your own version, and then you might have 3 or 4 different ones that you've learned, and then you kind of pull out whichever one you want out of your pocket to play.
That's cool. Can we hear the Red River Jig?
Yeah.
Grab my cello.
Alright guys, so this is what's happening. I'm downtown Belleville. I'm all masked up, so hopefully you can hear me okay. I love my old clothes, and I'm going to give you all a little bit of a secret. I'm going to show you where I find some of my good stuff. Come on, let's go inside. So we're downtown Belleville here at the Boretski Gallery, and Anna found this originally because of all the women's clothes in the front, but in the back there's a little spot with a bunch of men's clothes. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to meet the owner and show you some of the amazing stuff.
Hey, hi.
How are you today?
I'm really good.
Good,
How
good.
are you?
Awesome.
Nice to see you again.
Yes. So why don't you go
Yeah.
ahead and introduce yourself and where are we?
Hi, I'm Marina Boretski, and I'm at Boretski Gallery, a store that I created on my own, and it's a vintage shop.
And what is the
Yeah.
address down here in Belleville?
We're 300 Front Street at the foot of the Victorian Front,
Awesome.
and
That's
easy
so,
to find.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. So this is I love all the old stuff. How did you
Yeah.
get into something like this?
That's a good question. Since I was a little girl, I started sewing at 10. And then in my high school years, I was drawn to vintage clothing and fashion. And so I was combing the antique stores for clothing, mostly coats and hats. And so I wore them to school. And then I sewed my clothes. I recreated the vintage things because I knew how. And it was just a lifelong passion. And I didn't do it for many years as a shop. So eventually, when my kids were little and off to school, I started a shop.
That's awesome.
And I don't regret it at
No.
all. It's been fun.
Well, we thank you. The people who do know about it, like me and a few of my friends and Anna,
Yeah.
we come down here and we always find something amazing. Like Anna has found so many cool vintage dresses, and I found myself some good coats down here and a couple hats, and like
Well, I always feel I'm in good company with you guys.
that's right. So how do you find
Yeah.
your stuff? Do people bring you stuff, or do you go out and find
Yeah.
it? And you also make stuff, right?
Every way. There's
Everywhere.
I would never exclude a way to find vintage clothing. There's everywhere.
That's cool.
And if it means I thrift for some, collections come to me. I sew.
Yeah.
I recreate things I already have. It started with changing buttons and zippers and repairing, and then it went to redesigning. So
That's so cool.
so it allowed me to bring in a bit of 5-10% of other things that will work and that fit in with the whole scene. So I do have a lot of pieces too that are designers from Toronto, and they recreate vintage clothing. So it's like having something brand new, but full creation in vintage style and sewing skills.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I bring them and I present them to you.
We appreciate it. So what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do is I'm gonna jump behind the camera, and I want Anna to show me through some of this store. Why don't you go look at some stuff and show me some style that you like, Anna?
Oh, Anna. Well, Anna, look, she can fit in everything.
She does.
So that's part of the the deal.
That's
is
the
that
fun
she-
part.
Yeah.
So like when you're walking
really
through,
has more choices because she has a small little.
yeah, the vintage clothes is our small little
and
stuff.
They suit her.
So like I love stuff like this. Like Anna's seen this right away, and it's like there's a show called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, and I know it. And they
What's the-
talked about it last night. Is a new episode?
I
I
think they're,
I hope
yeah,
so.
they said that there'd be some more coming. Yeah.
But like a dress like that, like what era would that be?
So
like
that would be classic 50s and 60s, kind of blended with one another. They still both had the full skirt and the A-line. So it's I'm going to be safe by saying 1955, maybe leaning into early 60s.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I put that outside one day and the sun shone on it, and honestly, it just lit up,
I bet.
and it brought a few people in.
I bet. Find me something else cool, Anna.
Hats. I
Well-
definitely have a thing for hats.
Well, of course, everything is cool here. You can pull everything out.
And a hat will be the one thing that tells you many things in terms of vintage, because hats were included in all
But yeah,
the
I mean,
fashion.
you see there's so many different styles and types.
So awesome.
That's pretty cute. Fancy little dress.
Oh.
Little bird cage on it.
Does that like go? Yeah, that'd probably go in the front, right?
Yep.
That's so cool. It's awesome. So I want to walk into the back here, and there's a bunch of men's clothes in the back corner. This is my hidden little gem where I find most of my stuff. So if you're lucky enough to listen to my episode here, this back corner is where you can find a bunch of amazing men's vintage clothes. Old sweater vest I really like.
High school, any one of them?
Yeah. Nice little coats. Great hats.
I think it's Sergeant Pepper coat.
Also have a lot of nice vintage jewelry.
All right, so that's what's happening. And come check out the Boretski Gallery, and you might find yourself something special. Thanks for having me down here. And keep up the great work.
It means a lot to me too.
Good,
When
awesome.
you come in like that and
That's what's happening.
express that.
All right, Nicholas. So what do you got here for a fiddle?
It's what they call a modern Italian instrument, so early 20th century. But if you see over here, I don't have a chin rest or a shoulder rest when I play. I kind of remove those things.
I noticed that.
Yeah, so if you see it right here.
Yeah. Why? But so.
Why would I do that?
Yeah. Just make it look more natural, I guess.
No, it's not. It's because well, when I first started, like I was moving on my journey in classical music, and my mentor, Mayumi Zeiler, she specializes in Baroque music. And one of the things that I realized is there's a close tie between stylistic elements of fiddle music and Baroque style, and none of them play with chin rests or shoulder rests.
Yeah.
And then I was like, took that off, and then I was like, wow, this is great. I used to have like a big hickey on my chin. It was a big problem. And then so I was like, okay, this is a little bit, but it took a while to get used to it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, just push it a little further. Go full bareback. So I took so I got the chin rest and the shoulder rest off, and it was a bit of a journey to learn how to play differently with that. Also, like learning how to looking how to play in different positions on the instrument while doing that. And so it's kind of a bit more of a balance. If I hand this fiddle over to a classical musician, they kind of freak out. It's like, how do I? It's like putting a fish on your chin. But once you realize the balance, then you kind of have a bit more natural feeling to the instrument. And I actually realized it was a lot easier for me to do the stuff that I've been doing recently, which is dancing, playing, and doing a lot of movement at the same time while I'm playing, because it's more of a dynamic way of playing rather than fixed position. Yeah,
that's cool. So is this just a run-of-the-mill fiddle, or is this something special?
Well, you can go to a classical music store and you can go buy very expensive or any kind of instrument you want. But this is the particular instrument that I really loved. Had nothing to do with like cost. I actually cross-shopped this with the Canada Council Bank of Instruments, which has everything from like Wineries to Stradivarius to everything else. And for what I was getting and for what I was doing, this was the best instrument that I could get.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know the maker? Or?
Yes. So, well, the maker, it's a 1923 labeled Scarampella, though there is some contention about the actual origin of this particular instrument. Another luthier in that shop, his name is Scarabotto, is who they think made this particular instrument for a couple different reasons. Again, when you're talking about the labels of these older instruments, typically you're talking about their shop, and then was it the master of that particular shop that made the instrument? Sometimes that can go up and yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if you see over here, it's got a really nice, thick, deep grain. What I'm really, it's got a really beautiful kind of grain to that. And it's like, you can almost feel, if you put your finger across here, you can feel the ridging.
It's like corduroy almost.
Yeah.
It's so old. Yeah. That's amazing.
And it's a, nice two-piece flare back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's the instrument.
Thanks, Ben. go. So we're here with Danton. How you going? How's it doing, man?
Good. Well, I got my 2 favorite friends here.
That's good.
Cello 1 and Cello 2.
Yeah, you got names for them or?
Actually, no.
No?
But this one's good old trusty carbon fiber.
That's cool.
Pretty indestructible. Fun fact, it actually was sanded down and painted with local minerals from our area. Like Hastings County, anyway. I've had it for many, many years. Traveled all over the place with it. It's gone to the Arctic a few times. Hudson's Bay, James Bay area, out west. I love this cello. This one here, super old, 1794. It's been called Mr. Cello, actually. I had to buy a seat for it on the airplane one time, and they called on the intercom, is there Mr. Cello here? And anyway, so I guess he's got personality, he or she, whatever.
That's amazing. So you said 1794?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the wood. I keep seeing all these old instruments, and I just keep thinking, what stories could they tell? Who played this instrument? You know?
Well, you think about it. The cello is a certain age, but what about that tree? That tree must have been 100 years old at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
What kind of wood do you think that's made out of?
usually a spruce top.
Yeah.
Maple back. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
actually it was and it was worked on by a local luthier as well. So
Was that Luke?
it sure was.
Yeah. We actually had a bass fixed by him. He's a good guy. I want to get him on an episode here soon, hopefully.
I would highly recommend it. I'm sure he's got a few things to say about instruments.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Anyway.
That's cool. So this carbon fiber one over here, it literally, when I heard you drop on the ground, like.
Yeah, like. I don't want to do too.
Yeah. You don't want to get too crazy, but it seriously sounds like a tin can, eh?
Yeah, but I mean, what I really like it for is I can play good bass on it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And then down here for a pickup, you just have like an actual, like a little instrument mic.
This is a DPA. I can plug this in, and it just stays fixed on this cello.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
I'm ready to go anytime.
Right on. And I like your strap. What do you got there?
This is I decided wanted to have the option to stand while I was playing, and so I took my sash that I normally wear around my waist.
Yeah.
This is a Métis sash. I'm Métis, and it has its own history. But yeah, just tied it to that, and it allows me to dance.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. What you got down here for a guitar?
This one here is probably one of the first guitars in our family. It's a Taylor. I've known it since I was very young. It's kind of become the beater guitar, but yeah, it no longer. It used to be really big on me. Nowadays, it's hard to believe I've grown up.
It's amazing. So yeah, I want to sit down with the two of you and kind of go through a little history there. But like, how long have you been playing for?
So I started on the cello when I was 3 years old. I'm 24 now. After that, I learned some piano, picked up the guitar, picked up some bass, and then kind of realized that all of these instruments could translate to one another. You just got to know its function within a group.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. And what's your favorite thing to do right now? Cello, obviously.
I love growing food, actually.
That's good.
Taking quite a bit of a break from music, but it's always been there. It always will, carry me forward. I mean, when I'm out here, I'm always getting inspiration from nature around me, hearing the sounds, and when I play now too, I'm playing for the trees, playing for the birds.
No, it's awesome.
And they start to talk back, and then you're like, wow, look, I'm making music.
that coats me with the flow. I'm known to go out and have a little fun. Sometimes I go out and kept feeling a little too much. When I was growing up, they always told me what to be. Now that I'm grown, just wanna be wild and free. Say wild and free, and if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free, wild and free. And if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free. Love once before, and I never thought of love again. Till I met this girl, she became my best friend. She taught me how to love, and she taught me how to forgive. She taught me in life, sometimes you got to live. You got to live and learn, sometimes you gotta forgive. To stop past, I won't have no shit. Let my past mistakes has made my path ahead. The truth from my tongue has made me my own bed. Living wild and free, and if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free, wild and free. And if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free. Go on, man. Wild and free, and if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free, wild and free. And if it's okay, I wanna live my life so wild and free.
All right, there you go. Episode 7 of What's Happening with Joel, or What's Happening 613. This is amazing. Having so much fun. What'd you think of it?
It was great. It was a good day.
Yeah, that makes us like, that's why we make our kids play music and learn how to play music. Because those guys starting so young, as you can tell, look what it's done for them. They can just go where they want.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I want to thank WildCard Brewery. We're having ourselves a pint right now. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers to the celebration of episode 7. 8's coming out next. We have the Fellowship coming up. That's gonna be an awesome Irish band. Too much fun. We went down to Boretski's and got ourselves some more stuff. And
Found some cool vintage stuff.
yeah, if you like vintage clothes, that's where you should go. Downtown Belleville. I was kind of thinking about, this is pretty cool. Maybe once COVID's over, we can do like a What's Happening concert series. We can showcase the people who are doing this kind of stuff, and that's something that's kind of on my mind. So that might be another goal. Season 2 probably coming up. Change some things, maybe add some things. Give us some comments. Subscribe. Share with all your friends. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's awesome. That's what's happening, guys.